Hey, this is Dr. John Bennett of InternetMedicine.com, broadcasting from Miami to Israel. We're talking today to Mayan Cohen. She's the CEO and co-founder of Hello Doctor, an application and device basically that she's going to talk about. She'll talk about that for a little bit and to give a presentation. And then after that, I'll ask a few general questions. So, welcome, Mayan.
Thank you, John. We're
Well,
very excited to be here today.
okay, Mayan, why don't you just take us through your presentation and tell us a little bit about Hello Doc?
Sure. So, Hello Doctor is a tool that empowers people to control their health. It enables you to collect all of your medical records, paper and digital, in the easiest way possible. Manage them on your iPhone and iPad. Move between medical records. Share it with your doctor when you're visiting the doctor. Have everything with you for emergencies. Document and note everything that you need to note, like side effects, concerns, drugs list, whatever you need to add in order to manage your health in a better way, and also understand your health. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. 1 second. Okay.
Okay, I'll tell
So
you when it comes out. Okay.
great. So here's my iPad.
It looks good.
Great. The first thing I do when I open my app is, of course, go to my Hello Doctor app. Um, As you can see, when I open the app, I have all my medical records organized chronologically. Each one of them has a tool saying which type of test is it and what date is it from, as you can see in the top right corner of each one of them. Like this one, for example, is a nutritionist report from September 4th, 2009. I flipped through the records chronologically, just like most people do in the binder they carry to the doctor today. But because it's digitized, I can access any medical record in a very easy way. So if I go to the menu here on the left top side, you can see all the medical records that I have in Hello Doctor organized in a very easy way that patients can understand. And I can get to each one of them in literally 2 taps. So if I want to look at my lab result or my previous lab result, for example, I go to lab results, and I can see all my lab results, no matter where they came from, organized by their date. So if I want to go to the one from April, I'll just go to the one from April and see it. I can, of course, zoom in order to see more specific details if I'm talking to my doctor, for example, and he wants to see something specific. And I can share any medical record with my doctor on the spot through mail or through fax, which is kind of magical for most people when they're sitting with their doctor and they just want to send a record directly to him. Now, this is how you can add medical records to Hello Doctor. You can take a picture of the medical record if you have a paper record right there on the spot the minute you get it from the doctor. You can email us. That's the left button. You can email any type of medical information you have. If you got an email from your doctor, if you have a stack of paper that you just scanned and it's like 50 records in a mess, you just email it to Hello Doctor. The system identifies your specific email and links it to your Hello Doctor account and organize everything for you on your iPad, which is for patients sending in 50 records or 200 records is a huge, huge, huge relief. You soon will be able to also connect your clinic. This feature is actually in pilot at the moment, which will also be great because you'll be able to import a lot of information directly from your clinic. And you can type in your own medical info. That means you can type in medical symptoms that you're experiencing, questions for the doctor, side effects, drug list, whatever you need to add to your medical record that's not specifically medical data that you got from your clinic or your hospital. So here are a few things that people usually do with Hello Doctor. They navigate between their medical records and share it with their doctor. They can add little yellow sticky notes. Can you see that?
Yes.
Great. So you can add sticky notes to the medical records themselves, but in a digital way, in order to actually ask your doctor specific questions or concerns or anything that's bothering you in your medical information. And you can resolve it in real time when you're talking to him if you have it all organized in advance. And one of the most amazing things about Hello Doctor is that now we just started to release new features that also help you understand. This feature was actually already out. If you look at a blood test today, most people have no idea what it means. But if you really want to understand your health, we help you understand it. So in order to understand your cholesterol level, for example, you'll be able to create your own chart that looks like this, that actually helps you understand. So you can see your total cholesterol, if it's good or bad, your LDL, your HDL, and your triglyceride, and actually understand where you're at. So as you can see from this chart, my total cholesterol and triglyceride is not in the best condition, but my LDL and my HDL are just fine.
Hey, this is Dr. John Bennett of internetmedicine.com.
I don't know what
Miami. To Israel. We're talking.
Did you open up another screen? I'm sorry.
Yes, I apologize for that. So
Okay,
we can
that's
go
okay.
on. Okay.
I thought it was my mistake. I usually make those bumbles.
Great.
Okay, go ahead, Mayan.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. So another thing that you'll be able to do, and this is a feature that will be coming up soon, is to view your cholesterol over time. No matter where your medical records came from, you'll be able to see exactly what happened to you and get the full picture. Did my cholesterol actually went up or down, and how bad is it really? And when you have charts and trends that show you things over time in a way that you can actually understand, it makes it so much easier for everybody. So this is Hello Doctor.
Okay. Okay. You all set? Okay, very good. Well, yeah, that looks like a very useful, useful app, especially for travelers.
Yes.
Correct?
For traveler, this is a great tool. For people in complex medical condition facing cancer, heart, and things like this is a great tool to coordinate between their doctor. And also, apparently 2/3 of our patients are actually people with very minor medical conditions. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, even light diabetes. But they're people that want to take control over their health, get everything organized, understand their medical condition, and just, be more involved in probably the most important thing that we have, our health.
Yeah, and one of the things about healthcare, as you know, Mayan, is communication, which is sometimes a problem between patient and doctor. And anything that helps improve communication is welcome. What has your feedback been from? It's basically a download from the Apple iTunes.
Yes, you can download from the App Store to iPhone and iPad for free. And we're getting amazing responses from patients and doctors, and even Apple. We're currently featured on the Apple on the App Store's medical category, and we're getting great feedback about this product, both, by the way, from patients and from doctors. Some of our patients, as I said, use it in complex medical condition to do care coordination between them and their doctors. And when you come into your doctor's office with an iPad that looks like this, and you start talking to him about the iPad instead of bringing in papers or a binder or anything else that's very, very, makes the communication a lot harder. When you just talk to him about an iPad and flip through the records in a very easy way, especially when you show him trends over time, it makes the entire session so much easier. I'll give you an example. Jonathan is one of our patients, and he has kidney problems. His condition was getting worse and worse over time, and really deteriorating. And every time he went to the doctor's office, the doctor said, "Listen, your kidneys are not functioning that well. Let's boost the dosage." And once they boost the dosage, the condition was getting worse and worse. And he allowed me to quote him, but when he decided that things got really, really worse and it's time to take control over his health, he was a week away from surgery and biopsy, and he was starting to lose his eye vision, and He just decided to take all of his medical records, upload them to Hello Doctor, and then he did another round with his doctors and showed them his medical records on Hello Doctor. But this time it was easier for them to see trends over time because it was very easy to flip through their medical records. And they quickly realized that he was just on the wrong drug. And every time they uploaded the dosage, the condition was getting worse. So he just switched drugs, and he's great today. He doesn't have to go through surgery. His kidneys are functioning very well, and he's well and healthy, all thanks to him taking control over his health and starting to use Hello Doctor in order to communicate better with the doctors.
You know, yeah, that's a good story, I guess, and the feedback has been pretty good from both patients too, right?
Mm-hmm. Patients find it very, very useful. We have patients that are documenting side effects, concerns, that this tool actually enables them to feel safe because they have their medical records with them at all times when they're traveling, or when they're just scared of going out and having an emergency. And when you have everything on your phone and it's always with you, it changes the situation. And this tool is actually one of the most convenient tools that we were able to create. It's super, super simple. It's accessible to everybody. We have people who are 25 in Hello Doctor managing their medical records, and we have people who are 70 and 80 managing their medical records in Hello Doctor. Each one has his own, features that are accessible to him. The young and techies want to connect their clinic, obviously, and they email us records, and they connect, files that they have in their Dropbox and their Evernote. And on the other hand, the older people that just want to be able to navigate through their medical records and use iPads, take pictures of the medical records, and it's very useful for everybody.
Yeah, just strictly from an organizational point of view, it looks like a very useful app just to organize it. And as you know, people change doctors and move. And it's kind of like a arduous task to have records transferred and records sent over to another doctor. And have anyone said anything about that? Any patients said anything about that?
Yes, many of our patients are in a situation in which they have to move between doctors. Many people move places today or just change an employer or an insurance company, and that forces them to transfer between doctors. So once you have everything with you and the power is with the patient, so you have control over your medical records, you have everything organized, and you can share each one of them if you want to with your new doctor, you have the power to control what's going on. And it makes the move a lot easier because most of the questions are just referred to the patient. And in many cases, it's not just moving from doctor to doctor, but even doing your oral care coordination. If you go off to a hospital and you do a surgery, it doesn't matter which one. You do a heart surgery, a transplant, or even just chemotherapy in a hospital, and then you go back to your primary care physician. In most cases, he won't have any information about you. Actually, in 80% of the post-hospitalization visits, most of the information in the meeting comes from the patient. So you actually have to be in charge of transferring all this information. And it makes you feel a lot more in control and a lot more calm that you have all your medical records and you can share medical data with your doctor instead of just going, oh, yeah, they put me on that pill and then that pill, and actually I don't remember how long I was there, and like trying to remember very, very stressful things in a situation that's even life-risking. It's after a surgery.
Yeah, I've heard as a doctor, I've heard a patient will say, "Oh, the red pill. I was taking that red pill," which, as you know, there's probably 1,000 red pills in the PPO. I'll give you a quick example of how this might have been useful in my practice. I occasionally work on the weekends, and I had a patient with back pain that came in that said to me, "Oh, I just had an MRI last week at another clinic across town." So I got on the phone, called the clinic, talked to the radiology tech, and I said, we have patient X here. This is Dr. Bennett. She's sitting here with me. Could you please give me the results of the MRI? And she couldn't do it because of security reasons, which I think if she had it on her iPhone, of course, that would have short-circuited that
reason, I would have been able to see it. And I was not able to see it because they said, well, the radiologist is not here, it hasn't been read, I can't tell you. So here's a case where really I could have ordered another MRI, which would have cost the patient a lot of money. It's basically inefficient. If I really wanted to find out the reason for her back pain, so the record aspect of medical care is certainly a big issue, and being able to see the records is even better. Now, one question I have, Maya, was the HIPAA, of course, as you probably know, does that enter into? You didn't have to get approved by HIPAA, correct?
That's a great question. Security and regulation in general in the healthcare space is very, very complex. But and as a tool that is providing, I'll say, a management and storage facility or a product for patients, we're not subjected to HIPAA. HIPAA only applies to hospital healthcare providers. But we as a company decided that very early on that security and privacy is a main concern for us, and we turned all of our infrastructure into HIPAA compliant. That was a very long and frustrating process, I will even say, to even understand HIPAA, but all the information is encrypted. We're using bank level security, we're using SSL, and we have auditing, and we have internal procedures in order to maintain the highest standard possible for the security and the privacy of the information in Hello Doctor. And I think that's something that's very important to many of our patients. And the situation you described with your patient actually reflects a very big problem in the healthcare system. Because the system is trying to protect patients, and it's very, very fragmented, the information is just not flowing. And the only one who can actually make it flow in a very, very positive and fast way is the patient. So if you collect your medical records and you have all information with you, you have the power to share it with your doctors if you want to or not. And it makes it very easy for us to import information from multiple sources, like your clinic and your hospital and your lab, so you can have all the information and you can share it if you want to with your doctors. That's something that most doctors can't do. Just as you explained, a doctor can't ask for medical information of one of his patients, but the patient can. And if you have everything with you, you can very easily share it with your doctors. In order to provide a solution that's, I would even say, that's building a standard in the consumer health industry, we decided to be HIPAA compliant, and we're following the guidelines of HIPAA and the FDA in all that regards.
Well, I kind of had an idea that would apply, because when you mentioned about the patient kind of asking the doctor, is this too high? That essentially is direct communication, and I'm sure they're interested in those kind of issues of, the patient communicating with the doctor over internet device. So that's where the HIPAA protects you, right?
Yeah, HIPAA is mostly about, how do you transfer information between doctors and patients, not even between patients and doctors, but mostly doctors and patients.
Okay.
In all that regards, we're very, very secure. And the things that you've seen in the app, like is writing to himself. This is not information that goes directly to your doctor, but you can add sticky notes on the medical records themselves before you visit your doctor. And during that visit, or during an email that you're sending over, you can just have those questions ready and remember to ask them on time. For most patients, the doctor's visit is a very, very stressful information, especially if usually go to the doctor when something's wrong. And that's a stressful situation if your kid if your kid has a fever, or if you were just diagnosed with cancer. Both the situations are very, very stressful for people. So in Hello Doctor, we enable you to get organized before the meeting. You can write down questions. You make sure you have all the medical records you need with you. You have everything organized. You can, write yourself the questions and the concerns. Add your own drug list if you want, in order to have everything with you and not just, go like that red pill that I take twice a day and things like that. And that makes the entire situation a lot less stressful for the patient and a lot more organized. But this is not a communication tool that just goes to your doctor back and forth without, his consent or your consent.
Well, anything that adds to communication and education is good. And preparation, that's a good point, that for a patient to go prepared. I'm just throwing this other platform, that Health Loop, that's kind of in the same ballpark as you guys, that improves communication between patient and doctors. And this is actually communication. It's a computerized system where the patient or the doctor will be notified of the patient's condition. There's certain algorithms. For example, the patient shows up with a temperature at the office, and the doctor sees her and gives antibiotics. The patient is able to communicate with the doctor by email, and the doctor is only notified if say the fever goes up. Bingo, he's notified. So this is another kind of platform that improves communication, kind of like yours does, just improving the communication between visits, as well as yours. Basically, a patient saying, I just got my CBC back. Is this abnormal or normal, or should I be concerned? And I know, there's a lot of cases. I'm sorry to talk so much, but there's a lot of cases as a physician. Lab values will look. I get stopped all the time. Is this normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? And a lot of times these lab tests, it could be a value that's elevated. It really doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. But the patient, of course, will say, "Wow, it's abnormal. Should I be concerned?" So, and you pointed out that your app kind of addresses that, correct?
Yes, and I think a product like Health Loop or other communication tools between doctors and patients, there are a lot of messaging tools within the patient portal of the clinic. Health Loop is actually one of the best ones, I know. They're a complementary service to what we do. We enable you to organize all of your information. And once you have it and you want to communicate with your doctor, like you have a new lab result that just came in and it looks suspicious to you, you can communicate with your doctor between visits with other tools in this space. Health Loop is really one of the best.
How does the patient, okay, suppose the patient sees something in the lab test or something that's abnormal, do they simply send an email to the doctor, or is he supposed to monitor or have a Hello Doc account too, or whatever? How does that work?
That's a good question. What Hello Doctor for now is solving is the current workflows. We're not creating a new workflow. As a doctor, you probably know that most doctors don't want to receive emails, and even if they do, they feel very, they want it just to be in emergencies, and this is not an ongoing communication tool for most of them with their patients. But with Hello Doctor, you can use whatever communication method that you're already using with your doctor. If you see something wrong and you usually get a visit, what happens, I think in 90% of the cases, you just, schedule an appointment and go with the lab results to the doctor and ask him the question that was bothering you. If you're used to sending him an email, you can just send an email directly from the app to your doctor's email. If he lets you send it, it's not obvious. I do know doctors that enable patients to send them emails. This is not a given for most doctors.
Yeah.
If you're used to calling him, you can just call him. But for what we've seen in the system, in most cases, you'll need to make an appointment and go and talk to him directly.
Or sometimes nurses will answer questions, and they'll bring it to the doctor's attention if it's something to be concerned about.
Definitely.
Yeah, because some doctors give the nurses a lot of power, and the nurses have been around for a while, and they would know if there's something to be very concerned about to alert the doctor. In other cases, they'll notice that they may mention it to the doctor, but it'll be some minor variation. And a lot of times, actually, for labs, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of lab results are what you call spurious results. They'll do one test and it'll be abnormal, and the doctor will say, repeat it. I know working in the emergency room, that happened a lot. You would just say, do another test, and the next test will be normal. Sometimes they have like what they call false positive abnormals, they called. But again, communication is the key. The patient won't have to be worrying, oh, is this abnormal? I'm not, you know, until they see the doctor in 2 months or whatever. They're not, you know, walking around with that type of worry.
Yeah.
So, very good. So this is have you found there's any variation in geography where this app is being downloaded from? Do you guys, are you able to keep track of that?
Yes, we see it downloaded all over the US. Like in many other technology products, we have a high concentration of patients in New York and in San Francisco, the Bay Area. But we see it all over. We have Pennsylvania and Ohio and Kentucky, and really patients are using it all over because this product is very, very simple, and it doesn't require the doctor's cooperation or a system at the doctor's office. You can just start using it and make your life a lot easier and make you feel a lot safer, no matter where you are and how old you are. As long as you want to control your health and you want to actually get back on the saddle and start managing your health in a way that you feel that's right for you, you can do it everywhere and in every age.
Is it written in any other languages besides English?
No, we're focused on the U.S. at the moment, but it will be launching in other places as well. Actually, the main problem for us with other countries is not the language, it's the regulation. Because we decided to go with such high standards of privacy and security, we have to adapt ourselves country by country. So, for example, the storage of Hello Doctor's medical records is in a very high secured server on U.S. soil.
Okay.
If we wanted to open it up in England, that wouldn't be possible because in England, the security measures there said that the information has to be stored on EU soil. So there are all kinds of different standards that countries has issued, and we have to follow them state by state.
Well, generally speaking, the other countries aren't as tough as the HIPAA, correct?
Mm-hmm. In other countries, they don't have HIPAA. They have other standards. FDA pretty much applies everywhere. Every country has its own, specific security and privacy measurements, and we have to follow, the best practices in everywhere we go because this is one of the biggest issues that patients look at.
Well, your office is based at, your main office is Israel, correct?
Mm-hmm. Our offices are in Tel Aviv. We also have an office in Silicon Valley for marketing and investors and just to be connected to, the top companies in our field. But the development team and the product team is in Israel, which is not doing that great these days, unfortunately, but we're hoping for things to get better soon. And having an Israeli team developing these types of products is just amazing because Israelis think out of the box. Most products I've seen in this space before we started actually want to, get the system connected, connect between doctors or connect between patients and doctors. And in order to do that, you need the doctor's cooperation and the hospital's cooperation and a huge incentive for two hospitals to talk to each other. And many companies have tried to do it before and failed. Google Health, for example, failed and closed in 2010. There are actually endless companies that try to do it this way, and it's just not working. And the people who are suffering from this situation of lack of communication within the healthcare system are the patients. So we just decided to think out of the box and start with the patients. Let us allow the patients to collect all the medical records and all the medical information and share it with their doctors as individuals. And that actually opened a problem that was huge and still huge. The U.S. government is still trying to connect between hospitals and clinics and transfer medical information, and it's not doing that well. There are a lot of huge, very inspiring initiatives like the Blue Button and other protocols, that hadn't been able to create a good enough product for most people to adopt yet.
Okay. I guess I understand in Tel Aviv there's an area where a lot of computer companies are located. Is it Tel Aviv in Israel? Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys in that area?
Yes, we have an office in Rothschild Boulevards.
What's it called? What's the neighborhood called?
Rothschild Boulevards.
So you say Rothschild Boulevard to an Israeli, they know what you're talking about?
Exactly. It's a very, very hot scene in Israel. eBay has their innovation center there, and a lot of companies have innovation centers in Israel. Facebook has one, Google has one. Pretty much most of the companies in Silicon Valley has either an innovation or a big development center in Israel. Microsoft, SAP, a lot of companies are based locally as well, and Israeli technologists are known worldwide as one of the best engineers in the world. A huge edge that we have as a team, we talked about HIPAA, is security. Most of our development team came from elite tech units in the Israeli army. And, you know, a lot of the things that looked very complicated to me, like, oh my God, we need to buy encryption now, and what are we going to do? Is like, no, we can do encryption, no problem.
Oh yeah.
Many of their skills were taught in the Israeli army.
Well, yeah, we had a little freeze there. You're with me, Mayan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one gentleman, his name is Kal Samani. He does an app called Pristine, which is a streaming Google Glass app. He had his platform approved HIPAA compliant in 6 months, and you know that's pretty quick. And I asked him in the Hangout, how the heck should you do that? But he used to work for government agencies that were pretty closely connected to HIPAA. He worked for an EHR company in Washington and stuff. It kind of helps to know the ropes, like you said, those people that worked in the military. It helps to know the ropes when you go for applying for that kind of stuff.
Definitely, and you need to have the right lawyers too. And sometimes you just need to, you know, do the hard thing. And you know, we spent several days just reading through HIPAA, trying to figure out what we need to do. That HIPAA is written in a language that's almost impossible to understand even for lawyers. So it took us a few days to actually understand what we need to do. And of course, we use peers and other people in the industry and lawyers to help us figure out what we need to do. But this is one of the biggest obstacles for entrepreneurs in the digital health space, I would even say. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are scared of this space because of the regulation, which on the one hand is very unfortunate, but on the other hand gives companies that do operate in this space a very, very big advantage if they chose to go through this obstacle.
Yeah, I talked to, there's a gentleman that made an app from Norway. That's the wonderful thing about the internet. I get to talk to people all over the place. But this doctor made an app to do a pulse oximeter from the Apple iPhone, and he had his app in the iTunes store going for HIPAA, going for FDA approval, as a matter of fact. And my advice to him was get a lawyer in the U.S., not in Norway, in the U.S., that deals with that kind of thing. Just like you said, you got the lawyer, because it's so complicated, some lawyers don't even understand.
Yes.
And I just talked to a gentleman today, a developer from Mumbai, India, that made an app for detecting anemia from the iPhone, and they took his app off the iTunes store, which I guess iTunes, they have kind of they kind of examine apps to see if it's a reliable app. What was your experience there? Was it pretty easy to get in the iTunes store for your app?
Apple is very, very strict, and I think that's a very positive thing about apps being published. You can't just publish, you know, fake apps or apps that can harm, you know, the industry, or apps that are required to by law or and things like that are required to hold specific standards and don't hold it. Apple are very, very strict around that.
Okay.
So they test every app very thoroughly. It took us a few weeks to get the app approved the first time. And every time we launch a new version, they have to go through the app and see that we haven't done any changes that are, against the law or can harm consumers. And I actually really appreciate Apple for that. I think that's super positive and it's very protective for patients. With Apple, we started even building, after a few months in the market, we started building a relationship, and they actually help us and advise us about things that we should do, about what they think will be appealing for consumers and can help patients better control their health because, they can see the entire landscape, and they were very, very helpful so far in doing that.
Well, very good, Mayan. I think you pretty well covered the utility of your wonderful app. You can download it from the iTunes Store and Apple. It's free. And I guess you can go to your website, hello.do, correct? If people have questions?
Yes. And our team is always available. You can also find us on Facebook and in Twitter at the Hello Doctor app. And the team is always available to answer any questions you have.
Very good, Mayan. I'm going to stop the broadcast and hang around for a sec. We'll just chat a little bit.
Great. Thank you,
Dr. very much.
Dr. Bennett.